and welcome. I'm Clarissa, and thank you for joining me in another episode of Clarissa K Explains It All. And today I'm speaking with a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guest. I've known her for a while. She's just brilliant, Amanda Green. We just got a lot to say today. So I will just let Amanda introduce herself.
Thank you. I love you listening to your voice, Clarissa. I think you've got such a great voice for podcasts as well. I don't love listening to mine so much, but there we go. Yes, I am Amanda Green, and I'm a transformation and emotional health coach. And I'm a big fan of Clarissa's work and astrology.
Oh, I'm a big fan of you as well. I think what you do is just so encouraging. You always have many, many, many words of wisdom. And I think you just offer such a healing experience for people. So we're going to be talking about some things today. We're going to be talking about what you've been going through and your journey up until this point. So if I could just start, in your career, how have you got to this point?
Oh, that's a good big question. And thank you for having me on here as well, Clarissa. Really appreciate it. And so for saying such lovely things. That's so kind.
It's so true.
Well, how did I get to this point? I had 20 years experience in business development, sales, recruitment, training, and that was in a mixture of corporate world, being self-employed, and in the education sector. And I balanced that around raising my two little girls. I did a performance diploma in coaching. I'd been coaching, really coaching and sort of mentoring and training for years, and then did some coaching in my work as well, but finally set up my full-time coaching practice, which is what I do now, about 18 months ago. And that's where I found my path, really. And I've been on a really interesting adventure in psychology and spirituality to find the blend that sits well with me, which I had a lot of struggles with as well, because it kind of challenged a lot of my own beliefs. But now I feel like I found my proper path for the first time, and it's only taken me over 40 years to get there.
I know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean. It is going into spirituality and essentially esotericism. It can be completely changed. So what do you think it was for you that made you make that change?
The change. Well, I was a diehard skeptic 2 years ago. So there was not much I actually believed in that I couldn't see, that wasn't tangible. So I've been through a complete transformation myself. And I think it was the quest for the truth that really drove me. And I was looking for peace, I suppose. So I wanted to come to an understanding of myself. I had a lot of internal, deep-rooted insecurities, and I just couldn't get to any level of peace with those things. I'd done a lot of self-development, but I didn't have a really deep understanding. So I tried to find the answers, and I tried to find them through psychology and psychotherapy. Found a lot of the answers, scientifically as well. And I do a lot of work with energy, and that started a whole chain of events, basically. I couldn't find enough answers there, basically. So I found them in spirituality. And now it's created this blend of understanding that I have for myself. But then I've also ended up really wanting to share that with people. And so I do a lot of that in my work, where I help people move beyond their perceived limitations. A lot of it's just constructs of the mind and the psyche, isn't it? That'll come from various places depending on your belief system. But yeah, to help people find that peace with themselves and to be okay with all of who they are, and to be able to use that effectively. And I do a lot about relationships as well, so personal or professional, about understanding the dynamics, the projection, all that is going on really and truly in relationships.
Yeah, because it does sound like a huge contrast to how it was living in the corporate world, and then you move into this very watery space, really filled with spirituality. Everybody's looking for their own truth when they get to a point of connecting with spirituality, and everybody's got a different story, where your story sounds very, very similar to mine. I was asking for the why. There was things in life that I couldn't understand, these constructs that we were supposed to believe in or are supposed to believe in. They didn't fit well with who I am on my own, I suppose, internal belief system that was asking, why is it like that? Why is that construct like that? What does it mean? So what do you think your why was, the complete turning key where it's like, okay, life was this way, and now I'm going to dive this way.
Yeah, so I suppose what was the thing that sort of unlocked the door, if you like? I like practical application, right? So I love the spiritual, but it has to have practical application. Like it has to be experiential for me, and it has to have a purpose. So I'm not just into off the chart woo woo stuff for the sake of it. It's like it needs to be to better life. It needs to be to help us transform. It needs to be guiding. It needs to be purposeful, and have some meaning. So my whole journey started off with me seeking the truth. What essentially I wanted to know what was wrong with me, which is never a good question to ask. However, it did lead me on to a lot of discoveries. So I wanted to understand why I had the struggles that I had on a very deep level. I wanted to get to understand them. The changes for me came, I suppose, when I made internal shifts. So when I started feeling patterns breaking down, when I started connecting mind and body and energy, and understanding that patterns exist in the body as well as in the mind, that it's all one. When I started having different experiences externally as a result of making internal changes, that was probably a big deal for me. And then it just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and I got greater self-awareness and understanding. So I would know, or which archetypes of the psyche represent all the triggers that I had, all the patterns inside me. I could then start to link it all together. And I love patterns, which is why I like astrology as well, because you can see the connections, can't you? You can see how everything is interlinked and has an impact. And then I don't go around telling everybody this, but I actually had spiritual experiences. So I went from somebody who could not meditate for 30 seconds. The thought of sitting down and doing nothing when I had a to-do list, as long as Meghan Markle's wedding train, was a joke. I just thought, there's no way this is happening. What is going on? And I had so much resistance to it all. And then I've gone on this journey where I've gone from that to having mystical experiences, dreams, images, visions, messages that come through to me that I can't explain away. I've had physical experiences with energy. I mean, just stuff that enough evidence there to say, oh, okay, maybe there is something beyond 3D reality. And I've opened myself up to it, and I've connected and tapped into it. That element has enabled me to make significant improvements in all areas of my life, and some areas that really did need some love and care and attention. So I suppose, it's that blend for me. That's the key for me, is the blend of being grounded in reality and functioning there, and also having that extra connection to things that are bigger than us.
I think you're right, because when you get to that point in life where you've had your life in this pattern and just routine, you're not even thinking about it, it's just mundane life, and then you get to a point you think, why doesn't this feel good? Why doesn't life feel good? Life should be feeling a certain way by this point. But you thought you was doing those things as routine because it was going to make you feel good, and then you sit down, I'm doing all this and it still doesn't make me feel good. So what is it? That question, what is wrong with me? Why don't I feel happy? That opens up and asks me to explore my emotions. So once you explore your emotions, it's this expansiveness. And so you need to understand it through different spiritual tools, whatever it is for you, whether it's astrology, whether it's psychoanalysis, all those things just help to create a little bit of a picture of who we are. But this journey is a lifelong experience.
Yes. I say, we're like the onion. There's another layer to go every time. You don't ever think you're there, because there'll be something else that comes. That's why I love helping people with subconscious patterns, because it's the stuff underneath. Anxiety and depression and words like this are banded around out there, but there are reasons beneath these things. Oftentimes they're the symptoms, but there are reasons that people maybe aren't getting underneath, aren't getting to the bottom of, to understand that they're patterning subconsciously, stuff that isn't very obvious to them because the ego protects it or whatever. There's so much there to be worked with, isn't there?
Yeah, because some people, they don't realize that anxiety that they feel, that pressure, or that sadness that they feel is almost like a block. They don't know how to experience past that, so they stay there, they stay in that emotion. So sometimes you need a guidance, or sometimes you need a something to just push you there, and then you still have to explore that space. And if you're not one to explore that space and how it feels, it can be, what is this? So it's great that you are a guide to others. It's such that helps you, because it also helps guide you and know which way to go, how you can make it, a productive experience, a growing experience.
I used to find emotions very uncomfortable. And sometimes I still do, but I'm okay with it being uncomfortable. And I never used to be able to cope with that. As soon as it was uncomfortable, the anxiety would come in as like a cover up, and then you'd just be in fight or flight. But emotions, to me, when we don't misunderstand them, because I think they're misunderstood a great deal of the time. I feel like the body and the mind and the psyche is this tuning fork internally, and it's giving us messages. But as soon as people experience dark emotions, they struggle with them and cut it off in some way, or find some way to escape it, deal with it, think that it's just a problem to be attacked. And actually, it's got some of the greatest wisdom when we stop being afraid of it and stop misreading it, misunderstanding it, making it mean things that it doesn't mean.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you literally have to go into the abyss, and it can be so scary to think, oh, I have to go down that way. But some people are led to go that way, regardless of whether that is voluntary or not. We all have to go through this cycle, this experience of going past the barrier of our own emotions to be able to get this purity in how we truly feel, and the truth in how we really feel. And then it's enlightenment. I suppose it's called enlightenment, like
yeah, being honest and compassionate with yourself as well. So there'll be some people who get to a certain level, they may experience anxiety, depression or whatever, but they'll not get underneath it. They'll never get past that phase. So it's like rinse and repeat all the time. And then there are people who, whether they choose to or whether it just happens, because it's part of their path, will get into the dark phase. And sometimes you have to go through that very dark phase to move through it. But it's almost like you're invited into the dark. You either hop back out and keep doing the same thing you've done, or you get into it.
Once you get into that space, you know how it feels. There's nothing else to be afraid of. So then it's that you can come out and you can channel, because there's so much depth in that. Because imagine if somebody's been feeling a certain way for 20 years. Being held in that emotion has kept them at a certain level. It's kept them in certain actions, certain habits, certain mindsets, certain patterns. But once they come out, that get past that, that's a retainer of energy. So now how do they use it? They can focus it on something else. They can channel that, essentially, one's pain or discomfort, in another way. You have to go through an experience to be able to understand that is even the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be able to hold yourself in a space of compassion at all times. Otherwise, the mind will run away with you and make you think all kinds of things that aren't true.
I don't think that anyone's given anything more than they can handle. It's just sometimes you need the guides, or you need tools, you need somebody with you to help. It's good that we're talking about this, because we're still in the residual of 2020. This is 2020 part 2, 2021.
Round 2.
What do you think your biggest lesson from 2020 is?
I think there's so many general lessons from this time, which has been just crazy, hasn't it? And it still is. I feel like there's loads of chaos energy around at the moment. Just people thinking they're on a certain path, and then the rug getting pulled from under their feet, or directions changing really rapidly, or unexpected things going on, and explosive attitudes as well, and reactions from people. I think there's a lot of like this pressure cooker tension simmering. But then I also think there's a lot of good stuff as well, because we can see the wood for the trees now, I think, in terms of getting out there and doing more things. One of the biggest lessons I hope people take from this is gratitude, and to be reminded of what we can be truly grateful for, because there's a lot of things that we just took for granted, I guess, before this time. I think definitely resilience and resourcefulness, because everybody's probably had to adapt in many ways, whether that's running your business or in your personal life. And patience probably too. Patience and learning to be okay with uncertainty, which is one of the biggest, when we're not, it's one of the biggest triggers for anxiety, is that uncertainty, or, the fear or worrying about the future. So I'd say probably those things. And then I also hope that for a lot of people, it's helped them to connect more deeply with themselves. It's helped them to reflect and take time to look at how they're running their lives, you know, and get some perspective on that. I think for me, this period, it has coincided with a couple of dark nights for me, which usually deeply revealing. And I think it's more deeply connected me with my intuition to a level that I've never had before. So it's been massively necessary for me, I suppose, the experiences that I've had. And it's given me a lot of faith. So I've really, faith is like a muscle, isn't it? Like something you've got to keep working. And I think it's given me an incredible amount of faith and connection with myself and with anything else out there.
Yeah. So you would say it's made your intuition deeper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people as well, because 2020 and 2021 created this emotional container that we never experienced before, because we were doing things, we were distracted. So to create this emotional container, we really got to explore what do we desire, what is it that we're feeling, what are we in, what relationships even mean, who are the most important, and we really got to see that. You see people completely changing their lives. It's just completely changed. It's revealed a lot of people's anxieties, and I think a lot of people have looked at their circle, you know, to see who is it that's making them feel certain way. Is it them? Is there things that they haven't dealt with? Really intuitive conversations.
What and who we really value in our lives. And you'll know more than many that a lot of that has been reflected in planetary movements in the past 18 months at least, particularly with like out with the old and with the new, and the ties and the bonds that can no longer be sustained, or maybe are being sustained because it's people are connected through dancing, you know, shadow dancing, through things, you know, connections that aren't real and true friendships or partnerships. You know, they're starting to question those things.
I think we're in such a precedented time, because you can see the change in the mindset. You can see people's change in emotions. It's so clear how people are, you know, how we are evolving as a collective. So as we're talking about that, let's talk about some solutions. So let's talk about what your coaching does and some of the products that you offer.
Okay, so this is quite funny actually, because I think because things have been evolving so much for me, and it's like just been this unfolding journey of, and now it's this, and now it looks a bit like this, and now there's this. I had to overcome a lot of my own limiting beliefs as well, to combine the psychology with the spirituality and be able to talk about it openly. So I offer quite a lot, really, in terms of there's quite a range. But it's funny because I think for ages I struggled with the idea of being able to succinctly explain to people what I can offer, and that, well, you know, everyone says you've got to be niched or focused in one thing, and I thought, well, mine is so big, it's very hard to sort of narrow it down to one thing. But then when I thought about that, and I was trying to say, well, maybe I should park this bit and focus more on that bit, I thought, if I was going to look at this differently, I'd think how fortunate I am to have this range of skills. And because I've got these skills, I can make them work together, but it's not going to be the norm. And then I thought, well, why would you want to be like everybody else anyway? Yeah. Why do you want to be the same as everybody else? Like, and I trust more now that if I have these ideas and if I have these skills, that I can use them and blend them together, and people are highly receptive. In fact, it shocked me at first how receptive people are, because I was such a skeptic and I was so closed off. I kind of imagined that I'd be talking to the old version of me. But I coach C-suite level directors, business owners, and we talk about tarot and astrology and all sorts of topics, and it's absolutely brilliant. So what solutions do I offer, and what does it look like? So I offer transformation for whatever level people are ready for. If I was trying to be succinct, I'd say that it's to break through the blocks in people's subconscious and their perceived limitations. If I was going to get a bit deeper, I'd say moving or aligning the soul perspective and the ego, so that it's a healthy ego, because many people are operating from a point of a wounded ego. That can you know, have all kinds of expressions, but to be able to see things from a soul perspective, I've found gives me and my clients an enormous sense of peace. And I help people understand energy as well. So when people are interacting, there's obviously a verbal communication that goes on in most cases, but there's also an energy dynamic that exists. And this is what I try to open people's eyes up to, that there is a conversation happening energetically. And the patterns are phenomenal that I see repeatedly. So we're all coming together and giving off a certain energy and not understanding why communication is challenging between certain people, why some people make us feel one way and others a totally different way. And I help people understand exactly what's being said in an energy form between those people so that they can heal relationships, you know, be absolutely how they want to present themselves without even having that conversation with the other person. So they can understand what's going on a really deep level, which hopefully makes some sense. But it is phenomenal, the results that you can achieve there. Absolutely phenomenal. I do believe in having proper communication as well, but when you are that self-aware and you can understand exactly what's going on in your body energetically, and a lot of people don't straight away, because if they are existing in fight or flight, you know, you've left the body. You've got the amygdala's in charge, and you're lacking in emotional intelligence generally when that part of the brain's in charge. Everybody is when that part of the brain's in control, because it's about running or fighting. And so people have this massive disconnect a lot of the time between what's going on in the body, and the subconscious speaks through the body. So the subconscious, we feel it, you know, we feel feelings and emotions, don't we? Usually in a specific part of the body as well, which is also the sort of work that I do to connect to people. So I do a lot of one-to-one coaching, and that can include all the aspects that I cover. I also love doing tarot spreads for business. So I'll do a tarot as a SWOT analysis, or tarot for vision and values, or for purpose and direction, or business growth. So because it has to be purposeful to me as well. So you can blend this for business basically. And it's a very good way to connect left and right brain thinking, to come up with creative solutions by, you know, tapping into the wisdom of the ancient wisdom that tarot offers, that is timeless. And also looking for practical ways to deal with things, as well as being emotionally intelligent. So there's a whole blend there. And then I write endless workshops and deliver workshops for people on all these kind of topics, basically around emotional intelligence in some way. And I also write and deliver workshops for businesses that would be more geared towards emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and energy and character strength of happiness and gratitude and all those sorts of things. And I also facilitate action learning sets. So I've got a foot in both camps. So I don't have to talk about spiritual stuff. I just have that thing about me. That's just who I am. But it's all about communication and empowering people, and action learning sets can facilitate a really powerful platform for people to get creative and supportive and come to their own conclusions, really. So yeah, do I do anything else? I can't think. I think that might be it for now.
Just one or two things.
Oh, I do also do guided energy meditations for people as well, so that they can connect with their body, because there are certain emotional patterns that are linked to specific illnesses and diseases. And I do believe in the power of being able to influence our own healing when we can make that connection and work with, you know, the subconscious blocks, the things that have been suppressed that we don't understand. Yeah, I think that's powerful. And then you inspired me to get into astrology, Clarissa, which I'm so grateful for, because it's something that had been bubbling away in the background for ages. And then once I get my hooks into something, I'm like a sponge, just soaking it all up. So I've been reading loads of things. I have to do practical application as well. So I've been playing around with charts and things, and I can see now. I was a bit fearful of it at first because it's such an immense topic. But I can see now how it's already starting to weave in and make sense. So yeah, you've inspired me massively there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you inspired me, you encouraged me as well, motivated me. And we did a course together, astrology course, and that was fantastic. But Amanda, you are phenomenal. You're like an emotional linguistic. You know, you just
I like that.
You just know how to interpret people's emotions surpassing what they say. You know, because sometimes I feel like language is containing. It doesn't express everything that we feel. You know, like numbers is just infinite. Well, words doesn't have that concept, but emotions do. So I love the way that you have the ability and so many tools to be able to just help people translate how they feel and help people channel how they feel into, well, it's great, making money, you know, being more productive, healing themselves, emotional awareness, emotional intelligence. I love it. So definitely going to put some of your details in the description so people can access you and get to you straight away.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, let's get a little bit deeper. So we've all had, you know, things that we've had to go through, dark spaces and dark times and hurdles we had to overcome. Do you think there's a hurdle in your life that you've had to overcome that's got you to where you are now?
Oh, many. so many. I often say as well that I can speak with conviction about a lot of things because I've experienced it. You know, I understand. So I can be talking for a long time about people's issues and challenges only because I'm so familiar with them. So it's no judgment when I talk about these things because I've experienced it personally. So I've had so many hurdles, but they've all been, I mean, don't get me wrong, some have been realistic, but they have all been about how I processed it internally. So all my traps and limitations, yes, you can see if you studied my childhood and everything like that, you would see some things that will probably be obvious. But I think a lot of it was how my mind worked and what it kept hold of and the meaning it made of things. And I had so many hurdles. I had so many debilitating beliefs and perceptions. So I would say I had a very, very wounded ego, like on many, many levels. And outwardly, this is interesting because I work with a lot of people like this as well, not with everybody, but outwardly I was always very positive and looked very capable, I would say. And a lot of the people I work with look extremely, very much like that as well. But internally, whole different ball game going on. And when I started to listen to my inner dialogue, and I mean really listen to it, some people don't think they have much inner dialogue, and some people are tuned in at one level. I think you go from level to level to level, and it takes consistent, conscious practice to do it, especially in the lives that we have that seem so busy these days. So I just got really tuned into my inner dialogue and tuned into the emotion and the feelings in my body. And I was probably on the verge of giving myself a panic attack with most of the things that I had going on and most of the beliefs about myself and the patterns. So I really had to do a lot of work in there, in the internal workings, really, to keep getting over hurdles. And we all have a victim archetype in the psyche, and you will know which signs that relates to as well in astrology. So we all have our very own pattern of victim. It's quite a unique pattern. And I would never have looked like a victim. You know, I worked hard, I was a high achiever, but internally I had a strong victim mindset. And I think working with that, and I always say you're on a sliding scale from victim to empowerment. So working with that, where are you going to take your power back? Where are your power leaks? And one of the power leaks is the victim archetype. And so that could drain the life out of me. And it shows up in different ways. I still clock it now, but I know exactly what to do with it. But it's nowhere near as strong as it used to be. So I think being very honest with myself about things like that, and also very honest about a lot of blame and resentment, which also makes you a victim, even if it's justified. You know, even if you have justifiable reasons to feel like that, you're still a victim. And I was trapped in a lot of that, and I didn't even see it for most of my life. And then I really started looking at that, really started being, okay, how honest can I be with myself about all the dark parts that aren't pretty and that I don't like, and these feelings that I have, and worked through all of that to the other side of forgiveness and peace, and really being able to understand things on just a much better level. Because whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, if it doesn't serve you, it needs changing. And no ordinary way was going to get me to change how I thought. I had to go, just no cognitive theory was going to get me to that point. It had to be a total combination of, the psycho-spiritual, working with energy, and understanding it from that mind, body, and spirit perspective. That was the only way through for me. and it's changed me and my life massively. And I know I've still got a long way of the journey to go, which is exciting. But all these hurdles are invitations, aren't they? Everything I've been through some painful stuff as well, personally and professionally. And although I guess it's all personal because we're all one thing. But I can look back now and see that it was purposeful. So we can repurpose all pain. And we need to really, to be high vibration. So you can't be in a high vibration, attracting great things and doing good stuff when inside you've got things locking you down. You've got low vibration like guilt. Guilt is a really misunderstood emotion as well. A lot of people have guilt and they don't even understand why they have it. So just getting into it, getting the long vet's gloves on and getting into the cow's backside of my emotions and all those things, and using them to repurpose them and make sense of them. And I had to get some bigger philosophies to make sense of it all.
I feel like the things that you went through to make you the powerful person you are now, because you just speaking to, you can see how powerful you've become. And for you, you've been in spirituality for a couple of years, but I don't think you realize the level of power that you have, and to be able to share that with others. You have a very deep understanding about it. So I think
thank you. That's so kind of you to say, and I massively appreciate that.
It's true. I can hear it. Your words are the words, but there's more. I can tell underneath there is so much more that you have to offer. So I would love people to just get in contact with you, to just get Amanda.
Thank you.
So as we're getting to the end, it's been so wonderful, Amanda. I love speaking to you because you take me there. Take me into this 12th house space. I love it. So, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Oh, just for people to be okay with themselves. Acceptance, I think. Radical levels of acceptance have helped me. To start to be more okay with yourself and who you are. And and you're actually meant to be that person as well. So I love working with the law of attraction, and it's working anyway. Whether we say we like working with it or not, it works. And I love how you can see that represented in the chart as well. So like the ascendant descendant line is really fascinating for that. But I don't believe that anybody can be anything or anyone. So there's things like, I used to get sucked into that sort of hype that they were going, you can be anything, you can be anyone. Well, I can't go and be an astronaut. I pretty much know that. And I don't know if that's me being defeatist or not, but I don't really like heights for starters. So I think that we are meant to be the biggest version, and we have the choice all the time of who we are with our innate skills. And that we're already unique. Everybody is already unique and has skills and passion and talent, often hidden in the depths of the subconscious, often that we haven't fully accepted or moved into. But not so you can just be anyone or anything, just so you can be the goal that is you, that you're designed for, that you have that purpose for. So that's my kind of opinion on that side of things. And then, if people want to explore more about me, they are very welcome to go to my website, which is www.amandagreencoaching.co.uk, just what it says on the tin. And there's lots of information for people to explore there, and free resources, videos, blogs, all that kind of stuff. And people will know if what I say resonates, then they will usually just get in touch, which is wonderful, and we'll have a conversation.
Yes, definitely. I hope so. I mean, honestly, amazing. I've loved it, and I feel like you could teach me some things as well. I've really got a good insight.
Ditto.
So thank you so much for joining me, Amanda. And if you loved our connection, please like and share in the places where you care. And until next time, take care.
Bye.